Hey, everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of the Momentum Tribe Live. And this is actually, I'm sad because this is actually the last, panel session for the marketing panel before our conference day. So I just want to say thank you all for being here today, for joining us on MomentumTribe.LIVE. And I'm just going to put this up quickly right here. So in today's episode, we're talking about creating a brand movement through social activation marketing. Right now, I just want to say hello to all of you who's joining us live on the broadcast. Or if you're watching this on the replay and you're wondering, what in the world is MomentumTribe.LIVE? Well, I'm the creator and producer for the Momentum Tribe Live virtual live conference on December 1st. And I'm Zev Zan, and I've been doing this for a few months now, hosting some of the world-class speakers who are, mindset experts, marketing experts, management experts, and money experts. Today, I'm going to bring on my two marketing experts, and we're missing the only one, Kenya Halliburton. But let me put them on screen because this is going to be an interesting one, folks. I have very, very, very high energy guys, just like me today. Wait, is Wagner frozen or is it just me? Oh, no. Okay, great. I'm like, oh, Wagner was doing a pose. Oh, that is so awesome. I so need to do the post. Welcome, guys. How are you both doing this morning or afternoon, actually? Well,
very good.
You saw me in the morning.
Yeah.
How are you doing? How you doing?
Oh, good. Very good. I was
on my feet, like catching a breath right now.
Well, I don't know about Yusuf, but I literally walked into the studio just in time because I was driving from my business partner's son's play that I went to attend with him and his family. And they wanted me to stay for lunch. And I said, nope, I got a commitment for Zeph and I gotta go.
Oh, I'm all melting here, guys. Oh, these two. So I'm going to caution you, if you're watching this live, it's going to get like really bumpy just because these guys are really awesome. They can create nothing. Something from nothing, and this is going to be a great show.
It's not starting very well.
I was trying to get my words right there.
Goodbye.
So, they're hilarious. And they have the energy to match mine, that I know. So beware of facial expressions, because the facial expressions are going to count really well today. When I have Yusuf or Wagner on screen, all I can say is anything can happen. Boom. Yeah. So, all right, guys, we're talking in this episode, creating a brand movement through social activation marketing. And you know what? I'm just a little tad sad because this is our last panel session before conference day. But I am also excited the fact that you both will bring like world-class teaching on December 1st and deep dives. And I know because just doing the scheduling is just getting me aha moments, and watching you all on your Takeover Tuesdays live have been really phenomenal. I sit down like a little puppy with notepad, or maybe, taking notes on my iPad and say, scribbling, because I feel like I have world-class courses and programs when I produce the shows. I know, Wagner, this is your topic, and I'm going to let you lead the conversation. So for all of you watching on Facebook Live or watching on Periscope, make sure if you have any questions, engage with us. Drop your questions in the comments so that we can try to get to it during the live broadcast. But other than that, share this out. Invite your peeps and your tribe and your community, because today we're talking about creating a brand movement through social activation marketing. And whatever that means, I'm going to push it back to Wagner because he's going to lead us through this conversation. Whoop, whoop.
All right. Sounds good. And Zeph, you're leaving. You're not taking over Kenya's spot, are you? You're just gonna go. Okay.
Push. We can do anything today, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I was saying, you might want to take Kenya's spot. But well, hey, listen, thank you for having me here. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Wagner dos Santos, and I am the host and producer of a show that's called Wagner Live. It's both a live streaming show as well as an audio podcast. And not only is it Wagner because my name is Wagner, but it just so happens that the marketing agency and advertising agency that I head up is called Wagner. So a lot of Wagner to go around. So Wagner Live is a business and marketing show that is kind of an offshoot of all of that. So I'm very happy to be here. I want to kind of set the stage for today and social activation marketing. And Yusuf, you and I will banter on this. I suspect. And just
Yusuf and you only. Hello.
Oh, yeah, Zeph, you can banter a little bit too. I'll since this is your gig, I mean, I think I'll let you speak now and then.
Okay.
So
that works for me.
So social activation marketing is something that we I can't say developed, but we kind of constructed at the agency, and it's really we brought together two disciplines. You know, a lot of, and I think you guys can appreciate. Sometimes a lot of agencies like to talk about their proprietary formulas, and really they've just kind of figured out another way to say things that are out there. And we're certainly not trying to do that, but we saw two different marketing disciplines that when we started the agency we thought were very important. One of them is social marketing, and the other one is marketing activation. Now, what's interesting is a lot of people confuse social marketing with social media marketing because social media marketing is so prevalent. But social marketing really is it's the discipline that essentially focuses on the consumer. It's making sure that marketing is socially and culturally connected, and that it's consumer first, versus traditional marketing, which tends to be client first. And that's really interesting because a lot of times marketers, whether they be consultants, contractors, or agencies that service a client, they're usually asking their client a lot of questions like, what are your goals and objectives? And what would you like to do? Who do you want to target? Whatever those questions are. And it's all about the client and what they want to do, but it's not always about the consumer. And at the end of the day, the consumer attraction is what they want. So we really like that discipline that says, okay, it's consumers first. Let's figure out how do we connect with them and then connect the dots back to the client. And then the marketing activation part is really about activating and making active a movement. This is where the movement comes in. It's that, yes, you've made that connection. You've connected with the consumer in a relevant and compelling way, and they're reacting. But now, how do you convert them into brand ambassadors and advocates, and so they can tell their peers and create a movement and a groundswell? So we put those two together, and we called it social activation marketing. And so so now that I've kind of set the stage, the topic of today's discussion is really to talk about the importance of the consumer and the audience, however you want to call them, whether they're the target audience, consumer, and really kind of talk about how do we connect with those individuals and how important it is. So I'm gonna stop talking a little bit and throw it out to you guys. Maybe Yusuf,
your turn.
Yes, your turn to speak.
Finally, I can.
Love it.
Wagner, that was good stuff. So basically, and this is a very common. I wouldn't say it's a common problem. It's a common thing with a lot of businesses too, because a lot of them, when they start a new business or startup, they don't understand or they don't know who are their audience, who are the ideal customers, target audience, whatever you call it. Sometimes they call it the buyer's persona. Regardless of the case, this is very crucial because we have to understand if we are going to sell a certain product or a service, we have to understand these audience that we tend to target, like how do they behave, where do they hang out, what are they trying to do, what do they like. All this information is needed because once the product is out, then you have to make sure that they find you and they you capture them. So there's so many ways to do that. For instance, we can look into when we say something like, do you have some sort of, social media presence? So what is social media presence? What is online presence? Typically, people just, your ideal customer, again, they go to search engine, they go to social media, they type product, they type services, they type your name to find out who are you? What do you do? What do you provide? What kind of offer do you have? How you're helping us? Because like Wagner said, it's at the end of the day, it's about, those audiences. If you can focus on them, then we can definitely, get something for them. Even though these questions are very simple, but you'll find, and I'm sure Wagner, you probably had that experience with your clients, is that they are for some reason unable to answer these simple questions. Like, why do you need to have a social media presence? Why do you need to have a social media website? Why do you need to have a website either? Like, they can't even answer those questions. You see what I'm saying? Because they're so caught up into, oh, I just need to go out there and go insane and crazy, have my cars, my websites, my everything, my Facebook, but I don't even know why I need it in the first place, because they don't tackle those.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I'm going to stop you right there real quick, because you said something really, I believe, very important in that clients don't know how to answer those questions sometimes about their audience. And what's interesting about that, that I've experienced, and I'm curious if you have too, is that many times the reason is those businesses and those clients, they started a company or they started a business that sells services or products because of some kind of passion they have, and that's great. It's great to have passion. It's important, but they didn't do the homework to see if there's an audience for it. All they know is that they want to do this kind of business, and now they're going to try to convince people to buy, right? And it seems kind of backwards, because the successful businesses out there and startups that are happening today, they're listening to what people want and what people need and where the trends are going, and then creating a business to answer that, right?
I love that. And it's just like square peg, round, a round hole, square peg kind of thing, right? Because we do it out. I feel like, hello. I'm like energized by both of you. I'm trying to figure out my words today. Like, no, it's absolutely right. And I think as we go through the journey about figuring out, because part of the conversation today also focus on answering your consumer needs and wants. And it's not from our perspective, it's from their perspective. And we totally forget that sometimes. And you're so spot on. I'm having goosebumps. And y'all can put out there Zev Goosies. Yes, hashtag Zev Goosies. We're going to bring the Zev Goosies throughout the conference day. I promise you'll have a lot of Zev Goosies on conference day. But you're absolutely right. So before I send it back to Yusuf, what I just want to share a little bit of my experience in, just an example for you folks who are watching, probably on live. If you have any questions, drop it in. Where I'm even as I started in the journey of my entrepreneurial journey, I thought X was my product because based on my passion. As I grew up, I realized, and I kept hearing and listening to people who were saying, like, you keep forgetting that important component is what solution are you providing to your client's problems. And that is something that we don't necessarily pay attention enough to realize that, because like you said, Wagner, sometimes it comes out of passion and we forget that we're here to serve our clients' problems and give them a solution. And part of the solution is sometimes it's not what we like to, do, but we have to, because it's part of servicing them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
let me throw this.
Oh, well, let me throw this in while Yusuf is coming back. That, there's, a lot of people start businesses. Many people start businesses because either they worked for somebody else and feel like they could do it better, or they can do it differently, or they just flat out didn't like working for somebody else and wanted to be their own boss. Whichever one of those it is, I think the pitfall and the mistake is sometimes that they're so focused in the me of I want to do this because this is something I believe in. I haven't done any of the research at all to see if there's a demand for it, but I like doing this. So certainly there's got to be people. So I'm just going to do this business. And that's where a lot of people fail. But Yusuf now's back. So let's see what he has to say.
Yep, Yusuf. Told you, facial expressions very important in our show, and this is how we will carry you through the conference. Facial expressions, people.
I hate technology sometimes. I love it too. So, absolutely correct with Wagner and Zev, totally. And from our experience, we noticed that I think the majority are people that are inexperienced. That's where the problem is. They have no experience in business, and some of them not even humble to listen from somebody who are experienced. So they get into this buying this product, and of course you have to have the passion for sure. But when you have the passion, you still have to understand okay, does my target customer exist? If they do, how can I get them? Instead of like how Zev said, we tend to force product on people, and that's not going to work. So this is a very common, and it's amazing, and I think it's our job, like yourself and Wagner, is to actually go out there and educate and simplify to a lot of businesses how things work. Because I think the second problem is it is not just from their perspective, but I think also from our people in our industry. They make the same mistake by complicating things, by providing knowledge that sometimes is either not genuine or manipulative or just too much complicated. So we have to simplify that and explain to them, just sit down with them, explain to them, okay, what is your product? Who's your audience? There's so many ways we can figure out and analyze and come with a simple plan. Start with a simple task, then slowly go to the step number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and so forth. You don't have to go completely crazy with everything. Just start with something very small.
So let me oh, go ahead, Zev.
No, go ahead. Really? All right. As you both are talking, I'm looking at, I'm thinking of something because it's true to what you both just said. Do you feel, Wagner? So I'm going to just like throw this to Wagner, just change it a little bit, twist it up a little bit. So I'm asking you, Wagner, first, do you feel part of this process is because we don't take enough time or spend, or allocate enough energy in surveying people that we serve? Because I think it is such a challenge because it's all about us. We all live in our heads. Hello, it's all the passion. Yeah, I want to serve both of you. But then we don't take the time to ask our consumers or our audience or our viewers, the people that we want to serve, what do you want?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that, in fact, that's, to answer that question, it'll help me segue also into what I was going to say just a second ago, that I think a lot of people don't spend the time. And so on a positive solution note, I would say those that are looking to start up a business, my recommendation is do the homework first before, and it's okay if you want to start a business and you already kind of have an idea of the business you want to start, but before you move too much further on that, do some homework. And really, when you look at putting a business plan together, one of the components of a business plan is market research, competitive analysis. So it is important before you formalize your business to do that. And when you do that, what's important is for you to really take a look at audience research. And what I usually say is just look at, think of it from an anthropological way. Look, really the study of anthropology and sociology even is really to understand people and understand cultures and development. If you really pay attention, even outside of the news, just how people have evolved over the years, and a good study of anthropology, you'll be able to get a handle as to where people are going and what the needs are going to be that maybe haven't even been identified today. And then the other, of course, is straightforward, surveys and focus group, and all those kind of things to really gain that intel. A mix of all of that, I think, is important. So, and then to segue into what I was going to say, are you guys familiar with the author and speaker Simon Sinek?
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. Hello.
So,
yes.
So his platform has been always about identifying the why, and the reason,
circles and the outer circle, the inner circle. Oh, that was perfect. Yeah.
And so the reason why he focuses on that is that it goes back to that idea of consumer first. It's you're creating something, but why should it matter to the audience? And so that idea of knowing your why really is about knowing your audience. Is how much do you know about them? And you know what might happen in the study of your audience is that you may have to change some of the ideas that you had about your business because it's not completely in line and relevant with that audience, right? But doing that is going to ensure that you're more successful. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that and uncovering the why of your business?
Yusuf, go ahead.
Totally agree.
I love when he does that. He's got all this facial expressions that will just wake you up. We're like, oh,
so
what?
addition to what Wagner was saying, so this process of, I mean, it's like, it's a must. It's not an option, that you have to know the reason for your ideal customer before and after. What I mean by before and after, that before, when you find, like what kind of content they like to read, what are they searching, what are they looking for, and you're providing that solution and answering to their challenges, right? Once you get them come to your site or to your social media sites and whatnot, now you will understand how they're behaving, what are they looking, what are they asking me for. So there's some sort of communication relationship before, in between, even after they visit and, let's say, buy your product or services. So that process never ends. It's always going to continue, because you're going to understand that your same ideal customer, eventually they might not necessarily change, but they might have something else that they want, and maybe you are the solution for their new needs or new wants as well. So that's why it's really important that, and to me it's not shocking, but these are like simple stuff, and yet I see a lot of small businesses don't know these sort of things. Or when they go to these so-called small business development workshop and classes, a lot of them focus on the technical things, like how to do accounting, how to get a license,
how to do the process. They concentrate on the process, instead of the result or the goal. Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. Nobody talks about, okay, how to understand my ideal audience. Where do they hang out? What are their problems? What are their challenges? How can I solve the problem to help them? Nobody look at that kind of stuff. So I think it's our job to kind of emphasize and focus on that more, in addition to the processing side of things.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just having an aha moment here, guys. And here's another thing, right? So just quickly before I go into that, before I forget, just to remind me that we're going to talk about this audience and this survey and the time that we need to take to kind of study and research our audience. But if you're watching there out live on the live broadcast right now with the Facebook Live, or whether you're on Periscope, drop us your comments and questions. Even though if you're watching this on a replay, be sure to drop your questions and comments, because we can still continue to have the conversation. The other thing I wanted to just kind of remind everybody, all right? So this is just a sneak peek of what's coming on December 1st. There will be lots of deep dives, and Yusuf is actually, his topic for the conference is 6 effective ways to get started with SEO campaigns, because he's an SEO guy, and Wagner will actually do 5 simple steps toward deeply profiling your audience. Is exactly what we're talking about today, but in a more deep dive kind of way. When I say deep dive, people look at me like, well, where do you want me to dive? Like in a pool? Yeah, if you want to dive in a pool, let's do that, right? Because we want to make sure that when you come out from this conference, and it's going to be a new year, Wagner's like, oh, let's jump on. See, this is what
you got the window Wagner in the back.
You know what? No joke. There is a pool behind me.
Just open the window.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. There's a swimming pool right there.
Oh, if you do that, I would love to see a Facebook Live or any kind of live of you doing that. That would be super awesome. And that would be like really high speed momentum we're talking about there. Anyways, back to this.
I'm just going to jump in the grass.
Cannonball.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen when we have this tool right here. I don't know where they are appearing on your screen. In my screen, they're like right here, and I'm showing this way. But maybe on your screen it's like that. But jokes aside, and I really think as we have this conversation, you sort of make a great point. Sometimes people out there focus on the process and the logistics. Not to say that they're not important to get you to this, because it's your yellow brick road to your goals, right? But I think people focus on that too much, not sitting down and strategizing, figuring out all the most basic, like you said, simple. And Raj Tedler, who's actually one of the management experts in the conference, said, sometimes things are so common that it's so common sense that it is not common. And the first time I heard about it, I'm like, what? He says, things are so common sense that it's not so common because we don't take time to think about it, don't take time and focus a little bit of energy on finding out what is it that you want, Wagner? What it is that you want, Yusuf? You're my potential client, ideal client. What can I do to make this better for you? How can I help solve your problem? We don't take time. And I'm going to be honest. Sometimes we don't know how to ask, right? And we don't have a way to communicate properly with our audience, and we cannot, we don't have enough time, because all like crazy people running like chicken with no heads, right? And just we're just thinking like, we have to do this today, we have to do that today, but we don't take the time to breathe, step back, and figure out like, oh my God, she's this crazy expert and she's always traveling across the country or the world. What can I do to help her? What does she need? And we totally forget to take the time to do that.
Zeph, let me tell you that one nugget for those that are watching this and either are looking to start a business or have a business and maybe will look to refine it, is that the new consumer today is Generation Z. Yeah. And we've talked over the years about the millennials, but the millennials have now aged into the upper 20s and going to 30s. The younger 20-somethings that are at the high range of Generation Z.
We're out of alphabets, actually.
I know, right? Well, you know what? After Generation Z, they're calling it the Alpha generation. So we're going into
we're going on a circle.
I know, right? So so Generation Z, what's interesting about them and what's interesting about the younger millennials is that it's a known fact that they are about experience over product. They are also about how can you make my life better and or the world around me. So those are really important things, I think, for businesses to think about, because yes, you're providing a solution for the consumer, right? And that's somewhat transactional. But are you also making the world a better place? Are you making their lives a better place, which is a little bit more holistic, but it's very, very relevant to that audience?
Oh my God, you just gave me goosebumps, because this is a lot of times when we talk about audience and the conversation of, do you know your audience? In fact, do you have, who's in your audience? X generation, the baby boomers, the Y, Z, and we're running out of alphabets here. But what I'm saying is that we're forgetting, and from my experience, and I've done a few shows where I have interviewed, entrepreneurs or experts who actually have a millennial audience. And that's the biggest thing that comes through. And you know what? There's a huge gap between the old school entrepreneurs with the millennial entrepreneurs, because if your business is missing that give back, pay it forward component, they're not really interested in your business. And that's the truth. And it's something that I think the generation before us, or the baby boomers, are having a challenge. If they still are in business, they're trying to, I would say, tweak their services or products based on this new customer that they have, and they may lose out on that group of audience. And I think from time to time we have to take a look back, and then sometimes we may have to tweak based on the audience that's coming into our space. And you brought a great angle there. Yusuf, welcome back. Yeah.
I want to throw this back to Yusuf, and I want to set this up for him, that based on Yusuf, based on your expertise in search marketing, I believe, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this, that this speaks very true to what you do, because there's a difference between somebody, thinking that, well, my business is such and such, or I think my audience is such and such, so I want to rank well or be optimized well for these kind of keyword terms and phrases. But at the end of the day, you do your research for your client and you find, well, that's not what's trending. That's not what they're typing in. It may be a disconnect between the language they want to use and the language that their audience is using in search, right?
Wow.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's why you have to do the market research first, the keyword research first, to find out the intent of the searcher. Because sometimes one keyword could mean anything. If you say yoga, okay, somebody's searching million search for yoga, but what does that mean? Versus yoga near me, that means, oh, somebody's looking for yoga classes. So once you understand the intent of these phrases, then you gather those information and turn them into a content, into answering questions. then step further, you don't stop right there. You have to look for blog material, YouTube material, social media material that talks within that same ideas, because if it exists, and there's answer for it, and people asking about it and talking about it, there you go. Now you have to go ahead and provide something similar so they can, also find you where you're at. But of course, you have to tweak your content to make it a little bit better. Okay.
Okay.
So I hope that
you have to do that. Okay. I love when you do that. Okay.
That's one thing. Now I want to talk about a few things before I forget, because when we talk about the millennials and the old school businesses, what I've noticed that there are some old school businesses that are really stuck in the old school way of doing things, and there are some from the old generation that are really moving fast. Okay.
Yes.
Which is great. I've have some clients that are actually 22 years old. Okay. And I will say a few of them are really genius and smart, because once you train them, they know how to use the technology, and they're like really good, really awesome. And there are some from millennial, niche, or whatever you call them, very self-entitled and idiots. You know what I'm saying? Sorry to say that, but there are some like that, but not all of them. So you have a balance. You have, like old school, too much into old stuff, but few of them are good. Then you have millennials that are really smart and understand how the business works, and they're jumping into it. But you also have the same way, like the old school, I can just want to do things like that because I think they know what they're doing. So it's all balanced. It depends on how and what kind of clients you're finding, then you will see the difference.
Mm-hmm. Wait, we just lost all the people under 20. They heard the word idiot, and they just
what?
Disclaimer.
Forget that Yusuf guy. He's not my friend.
Yeah, insulting us. How dare
No,
he?
I think sometimes I think we just need to have a wake up, because that's the truth, right? We're not saying that everybody in one generation looks that way. You're Z and millennial generations, you're all idiots. Or no, it's not about that. It's about awakening the power inside you, because sometimes we're stuck. What we're trying to say is sometimes you're stuck and you only know here, but there's this other people who live outside here are helping educate you or helping you create that knowledge base, business, so that you can actually serve the right people, the ideal clients for you, because I think that's where we forget.
Yeah, this is something that you probably noticed that Gary Vee talks about it too, the so-called wannabepreneurs, right? Who call themselves entrepreneurs, and like, what? It doesn't make sense. I've been surrounded by, I don't know what kind of co-working space you have, but here in San Antonio, we have amazing co-working spaces, and for like a lot of new startup companies.
That's where Wagner works out too, co-working spaces. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I've noticed these new so-called in startup community. I've seen most of them have no experience in business, and they have this I don't know if it's a challenge or something how they grow up. But for example, one of my young client, amazingly, two best friends, they started a carpet cleaning business, right? Called Discovered Carpet Care. And you're not gonna believe it. Within 1 year, they got a second van. I mean, that's growing, and they're using a lot of focus on the social media way of marketing, and they invested a lot of money in Facebook ads, and now they're probably going to have a third truck. So they're a very small company. They grow very fast because they understood how technology and the demand is needed, and they kind of jumped into it quickly and fastly without me telling how to convince them. Does that make sense?
Right.
So then you have old school generation when you can explain to them how social media is important, but they're like, oh, but I don't want somebody to make fun of me. I'm like, they're stuck. But you have few of them are really smart. So that's what I'm trying to say, that it's balanced. It's not like all old school are into it, even though it seems like, and not all millennials are also not into it either. So there's both. At least from my experience.
And I think what I'm hearing you say is basically this. This is the bottom rule. I think if all of you are watching, and I don't know if I agree or not, but here's the thing. The bottom line, I think all of us have to be open enough to understand when it comes to business, nothing is static, because especially, with marketing, if you're doing your own marketing in your business, a lot of it is technology based. If you're not willing and able to learn, and you don't want to do it, find people who can help you do it. People like us, or just come and learn how to do it and learn it well and execute it. I know we're like at the end of the show, but here's what I want to leave with this conversation, with this saying, and just to kind of remind everybody, it is not an easy job when it comes to business and marketing, and it takes a lot, but you have to have an open mind, because if you do not have an open mind, and somebody who has done it better than you have, who have been successful more than you have, and if you're not open, and you're not open to learning or becoming a good student, I think that's where we all fail, because we are not willing, because we're stuck in our own ways. And that is helping me segue to why you should actually attend the conference, because these are the things that we're going to bring on conference day. We're just not going to talk this conversation. We're going to do deep dive, as in, like, really, here are some examples. Hopefully when you leave the conference, you can take this and run in like 30 to 90 days and get results from your business. So showing up right here on the screen, before I push this back to last tips from everybody. Save your spot, people. It's free to attend the live sessions only. And if you want replays and VIP access, there's information on the website. I cannot tell you how important it is to get you to the conference, because it is December. Everybody's going to have like chicken head, like running Energizer Bunny, like me, 500 miles an hour. And you're like, oh my God, the holidays. And then before you know it, it's the new year. And when New Year comes, it's going to be too late for you to plan and strategize, because it's going to be too late. So come and learn from everybody. And you see Wagner and Yusuf are both featured, and they actually are going to speak at breakout sessions. What that means is they're going to teach. They're bringing their high performance teaching on that day. So go and save your spot. I'm going to ask Wagner to kind of close this out in the sense that, what's your last thoughts on this topic, and what do you want to leave our audience with?
Well, why don't, as a courtesy, why don't I give it to Yusuf? Yusuf, what are your final words?
Thank you very much.
I love the head shaking. I love that.
I want to tell the audience, like, take what Zev and Wagner is like, mentioned from the beginning. This is very, very important, this discussion. But also understand, things are not that complicated, and you don't have to do things perfectly. You don't have to do everything at the same time. If you're trying to search for perfection, you're never going to start. So when we do like some sort of market research, you can start something very, very simple. Let's say from Facebook. You go to a Facebook ad, you open a Facebook Insight, look at your city, type yoga, then you'll see some information, the demographic. Just using that simple tool can give you some idea about your audience. You can start from there. It doesn't have to be extremely complicated, but make sure you do some research and start. Even if you don't have enough things on your plate, doesn't matter. Just start, okay? Do the proper strategy and resources and what Wagner and Zev said, but start somewhere.
That's perfect. And to piggyback on what Yusuf said, I would say that I hear an echo. You know? Oh, to piggyback on what Yusuf said, it's very important to look at feedback. Also, the idea of perfection. You don't have to be perfect. In fact, people are kind of turned off a little bit when you're too perfect, especially, let's say, when you do a social media marketing program. People don't want to feel like there's a robot that's engaging and putting out content. They want to feel like the brand is a real person. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to try out things and listen to what comes back, and then tweak and refine based on that feedback. So that would be another way to think about doing your homework, is also try some new things and listen, and then apply them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm just going to leave by saying to everybody, you will never know until you ask. And this is one of the big things that I've been taught in my, in my training, in my journey as an entrepreneur, is you ask. Because I've come, okay, this is going to be a topic for a different different panel, but this is something that I would love for you all to kind of think about, because I came from a different culture. So I was raised in a different culture. Sometimes I bring my limiting beliefs with me, and that's why we have the mindset panel to help you guys with this. That limiting beliefs, I'm having goosies, and I know y'all just like will pick on me later, but that limiting beliefs actually spill over in how we run our business, how we manage our business, and how we actually create products for our business. And that's the truth, because sometimes, some cultures, especially like for me, you know, we have the old school and the next generation. Sometimes there's a huge clash, and sometimes it spills over in how I conduct my business. I've had, you know, to learn from some of the best out there to tell me like, yeah, here's an example. What I mean is like, don't be afraid to be you. He's gonna pick on me. I know he's gonna Wagner is gonna ready to like pick on me because I love to say, just do you. You don't do anybody else, just do you. He's like, oh my goodness. But that's the truth. What I'm trying to say is be authentic, because don't be afraid. Like, you know, if you were to ask, just don't be afraid to ask people, because sometimes in my culture, asking was not polite. Sometimes it's not polite. But in this business, you are, you know, you are serving people. You got to ask them. So ask people what they want, and that will help you, you know, provide a better solution and help them. So you got to create that balance. Do you? See, I told you, when I have Wagner and Yusuf on camera, any facial expression will come through. So just expect it. All right, everybody. I just want to say thank you all for tuning in, and be sure to go save your spot at MomentumTribe.LIVE and join us on December 1st, where all the speakers, including Wagner and Yusuf here, will be doing deep dive teachings during the breakout sessions. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, Wagner. Great conversation. Whew, I'm sweating already. Have a great day, and share this out, people. Drop your comments and questions, even it's post the show, because we can still continue the conversation. Have a great day. This is Momentum Tribe Live, helping you build momentum, take action, and get results. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.